Hello and welcome back. It's the Produce Moms podcast. And oh, what joy I have had putting together our 2026 programming for you all. We were so blessed with your listenership and the support here on this platform, where I think it was like about October when we realized that our 2025 programming was locked. And we had more interest and more potential guests than we had weeks in the remainder of the year. And so that allowed us to get really strategic and really discern what do we want this show and platform to look like in 26. And one person that sent me an email, I was like, okay, this is a big yes. You don't have to fill out the questionnaire. You don't have to sell me on this. It's a woman who has mentored me. Julie and I first met in 2018. I think we probably met prior to that, but we really got to know each other in 2018. And that for me personally was a tough year. My father had passed away unexpectedly, and I was just like in this state of emotional chaos. And I had so much growing up to do with the business. And meeting Julie, things don't happen as an accident in this world. That's my opinion. Julie came into my life at just the time when I needed her the most. So she brings this wealth of experience. Fortune 10 executive level work. She's been leading strategy for big energy to fresh produce and all sorts of categories in between. And really, she has been ushering our executive class within agribusiness and fresh produce to this new frontier, like really helping executives understand how to move mountains, really helping big, long-standing agribusiness companies to know how to either usher in the next generation of leadership and train them up so that they can move mountains? Or is it the right time to evaluate a merger and acquisition opportunity and move your company forward in that capacity? So a lot of people don't know that Julie Krivanek has been behind a lot of the biggest moves that this industry has seen in the last few decades. And she has personally mentored me, and I feel very blessed to welcome her to the show today for a conversation that I know is going to inspire you. We are going to have a conversation rooted in what Julie knows best, and that is leadership. So Julie, welcome to the Produce Moms podcast.
Thank you. I get sentimental. 2018, what were we doing? Were you in the leadership class?
I was. Remember. You were my teacher.
Oh, yes, I know. I was. Oh, I love this.
Yeah. So for those of you who aren't familiar, the produce industry, it's sponsored by Corteva. There's a leadership class. It's been going on now, Julie. Are we on like class 30 or something? It's been going on for a while. I was class 24. There were obviously a couple gap years during the pandemic. It's a competitive application, invite-only type access and multi-stakeholder approach to bringing together what people like Julie and other members of the slating committee view as like, these are people who can shape the future of the fresh produce industry. So that's how you and I first met, Julie.
Yeah. All right. Hi.
A lot's happened between 2018 and today.
How you been? Oh my God.
Yes, we're here. We're kicking off. A lot of people are probably still in that new year, new you spirit of 2026. And you are celebrating 35 years of Krivanek Consulting.
Yes, 35 years. And the 30-year mark is a specialty in fresh produce. Mm-hmm. So before that, the 5 years before that, I worked in every industry conceivable, a lot in technology. I worked with a protege of Marshall Goldsmith doing 360s for Oracle and HP and companies like that, and talked really primarily to their executives. I worked with executive teams. Leadership and management were really my cornerstones because I started in a publicly traded energy company, which was then called Amoco Production. And they placed me in a high potential leadership program. I was recruited right out of school. And they groomed 5 people through every single seat at the table. What's HR? What are sales? What's ops? And then for me, my specialty, oddly enough, ended up being labor relations. So I was a labor negotiator for, 5 years. And then after that, the company acquired Cypress Minerals. and brought them to Denver from Los Angeles and began this enormous M&A effort to buy undervalued properties, to invest in them, to integrate them, and that was it. So I was on the merger and acquisition team. So I bought and sold coal mines for 5 years.
Wow.
That was my specialty, is coal mines.
No wonder that when the produce industry call you when there's a merger and acquisition counsel needed and strategy support. So how do you go from coal to fresh produce? Why fresh produce, Julie?
I will tell you that from a personal standpoint, that was the most thankful transition I ever made. I had 9 underground coal mines that reported to me, so I was mostly underground. But the thing that you mentioned, which there's a lot of kismet in this business. There's a lot of blessing. There's a lot of like serendipity that you think, oh, wow. And so I was in year 5 of my own business, and I got a phone call from who was then Kathy Shanahan that said, I'm moving, and I just looked through a box, and there was an old tape of you speaking about leadership and management. It's 4 years old, and I want to know if you would like to come out and speak to this brand new program that we have.
Wow.
And then the 12 people in that program, most of them ended up hiring me. So I ended up really saying, you know, which is a huge part of our industry.
And that program was the leadership class, correct? That was that day 1, year 1 leadership class.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a trade association was. And I said, what the hell do you people trade? I don't get this. And she said, vegetables. I said, you people trade vegetables. And I was worried because money was tight. And I said, well, oh, okay. Well, you know, is there any money in that? And she said, oh, our sponsor is DuPont. I thought, oh, they're good for it. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it ended up being, my grandparents were farmers in the former Czechoslovakia. Yeah. And then they came to Chicago and had a huge corner grocery store. So, you know, I felt deeply at home, deeply connected. And I thought, oh man, this is the best. So that's how that happened. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Julie, there's so many guests that have come on this podcast where I think we underestimate just how much fresh produce brings people together and just how much fresh produce creates that personal culture in our very diverse lives. My grandparents weren't from a specific country. Like I'm a kind of a mutt, I guess you would say. I've got all these different heritage in my family tree, but man, I come back to traditions around the table. I come back to specific recipes. I come back to so much of how my family celebrates those who've gone before us. It's through the food, and it's through gathering around a kitchen table. And fruits and vegetables are really one of the most unifying components and most present components in those moments.
All of us have a personal tradition, a heartfelt memory, a capability. My mother and grandmother were great cooks. We ate breakfast, we talked about lunch. We ate lunch, we talked about dinner. We were constantly in the food arena. So yes, there's something a lot more than just moving food, fresh foods and vegetables around. And for us in the industry, it's one of a kind. Yeah. It's a tough industry. There's incredible stresses and challenges. And at the top, there's incredible pressure to show results. Mm-hmm. But when we gather and we see each other, it's got such a lovely feel to it. We're friends, we have relationships, we do business with each other. We empathize and have a sense of, I understand you. Mm-hmm. These are private businesses. A lot of them are family businesses. Mm-hmm. There's not another industry like this one.
I agree with that. Certainly you have more insight and wisdom on it than I do. Let's talk about some of this executive level work you've done, because I know that in your quest to help executives move mountains and your quest to help young talent see themselves as executive leaders and really put in the work to become that. Tell us about that journey. It's obviously laid out on your website, krivanekconsulting.com, which has got a lot of great information on it, folks. But Julie, I know this, and you've looked me right in the face and said it sternly. Very few people have what it takes to really move mountains.
Yeah.
You are one of those people, and you've helped me believe and discover that I'm one of those people. Share a little bit more with our audience.
So I will say that the bolt of lightning, I've been developing, learning, growing, going to school. I've been going and going. Like you said, I did 20 years worth of strategy in our industry. So I get the nuts and guts of these businesses. But the bolt of lightning that hit us, including me, was the pandemic. There were clear winners and losers, clear winners and losers. And I don't know if you remember, or maybe I talked to you, the first 2 years of it, we were just like wearing masks and being crazy people. But I decided that I need to outreach to the graduates of that leadership program and my CEO clients, my CEO colleagues, and say, I'm a generalist. If you want an hour of my time as a gift, I'll just give it to you if I can help you move in a certain direction. In business conversation, that's called anecdotal research, right? What are you doing and how are you doing? And I just said, oh, this would be a good thing. I had 300 people that said,
I was one of them. I
I
still
know
have
you
my
were.
notes from it.
Oh my God. I know. And I thought, I wonder what have I done? And then I thought, you know what? I'm in, whatever. So for 3 months, I talked to people.
Yep.
So that was the anecdotal piece of it. And as I've said before, boy, the winners and losers were very clear, not because they personified win or loss, but because for the losers, they were in a state of panic. And I know these businesses, their business model was in trouble before the pandemic. I know people on the other end of listening to this are now grasping their heart, but that is
Yeah,
I
it's
know, but
true.
that is exactly it. So if your business wasn't diversified, and guess what, you in food service, adios. If your executives at the top weren't the best of the best, they started to fold. But I will tell you that what I really noticed was the superstars. I noticed the superstar executives and I thought, whoa, they're all over the place. We're entrepreneurs. And it wasn't just a matter of, let me get through this, oh my goodness. It was, Julie, let me tell you where we're headed. Let me tell you how we're going to hop over this and continue on to a path that is going to take us to our next incarnation. Those are the people that I thought, okay, that's it. It was just inspiring for me as a person. But I will tell you, I started to look at, okay, what makes these people so special? All different personalities, men and women, it doesn't matter. What makes them so special? So I ended up doing a lot of research on the best of the best, not at this level. This is the prep level, but at the executive level. What did they all have in common? And what did research iterate that to be the magic pixie dust of executive
So,
leadership?
what were some of the stories? Who were some of the individuals or companies that you researched?
First of all, strategic thinking. Duh. Nobody knows what strategy is. It has worn me out. But strategy is the future. It's not, is the truck on time? Oh my God, oh my God. It's the
Right.
absolute future. Okay. And how you think about that. The second is emotional intelligence. Duh. We know that. Okay. That's not like some rocket science. But in speaking with people, it's okay, these guys are calm. They understand themselves. They understand their strengths and weaknesses. The third is to have an executive presence. You can't come dragging in like you shopped for your clothes at the Goodwill. I mean, that, right? So it's, here I am. I'm trustworthy. I'm competent. I'm confident. The one that's a little bit tricky is business acumen. We have an earn as you learn industry. Okay.
Yeah.
And so everybody doesn't need an MBA, but is business acumen almost an oral tradition where it is passed from person to person, which means that it's usually very rusty. And then the last is interpersonal skills and communication. So if you look at those 5 things as the absolute complete foundation, almost at the executive level, you should be able to do those things in your sleep. And what did I discover? Pieces of it, right? So that's why I developed and have been incubating for almost 3 years executive development, because I don't look for what's great, your strengths. I don't believe in that. Yes, you have strengths, but honest to God, you could do them in your sleep. I look for what's wrong with this picture? What piece is missing? The analogy that I use most of all is the most important grade anybody ever goes through. Do you know what the most important grade in school is? It's a trick question.
I know. And I'm like, damn it, Julie, I don't know the answer. And I feel like I should.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, no. Well,
I want to say attendance, honestly, but maybe that's too obvious.
Well, you don't get a note from that principal. The most important grade is 3rd grade.
Oh, okay. You're talking like what academic year?
Middle school, like the actual, yes.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
most absolute important grade is 3rd grade. And I was thinking about it. I thought, what the hell is that about? Why is it the most important grade? Because you go from learning to read to reading to learn.
So true.
Shift.
Yeah.
You go from, you have kids, oh, can you count to 10 for grandma? 1, 2. So they count. And after that, they learn how to understand and manipulate the numbers. If I have 1 plus 2, what do I have? So the foundation of all is built in the 3rd grade. So I looked at that and I thought, so these executives that I don't know what they have, but I started to test it. What exactly do you have and are you missing? Because if there's some pieces that are missing, I do incredible feedback reports, and I call it this phase, still you, only better. Because there's so much that people have, you don't diminish that. But if there's something that's missing, let's put it back in. So let me tell you about these companies that blew me away and continue to blow me away. Why? Because these individuals have moved mountains. Okay, so the first person I talked to when I was doing that sort of anecdotal research was Wegmans. I said, how are Martha Hilton, genius, if you get to meet her. So I said, how are you guys doing? Good. And I'm getting off the phone with people who are, oh my God. Right. They're losing their marbles. You're good. She said, yeah. I said, is this hard? No. She said, it's a lot. But why is this not hard? She said, Julie, we just go to our values. Their first value is employees first. You talk about clean, simple. It's a family business. There are Wegman people. And it's this way. Wegmans now has, I think, 110 stores all along the East Coast. Right?
And there's a lot of people, Julie, who would say it's the very best grocery store in America.
I would be one of them.
Yeah.
By the way, I would absolutely be one of them. But then you start taking, okay, so that's an example of these amazing executives who use these 5 skills that I gave you. They are masters of those, so they can do what? Move a mountain. They're not still wondering if they ought to delegate. I mean, I just cannot anymore. They are like, okay, let's do something amazing and great. And let us really, they have no competitors, the truth is. So that's one. Taylor Farms. Okay. Just this last year, they started with understanding the consumer taste, right? So remember all the salads that were like, we have a large Hispanic population. Let's have Mexican corn in a salad. There's a concept, right? So they began really to gear. They went B to B to C. What's happening with the consumer? So beautiful. They moved mountains because people really never thought of, they were in our industry, we were always B to B. So now there's human beings. I want to know my customers. So that was the first huge iteration. But this year alone, So now think of where everything is headed. Think of the disruptors, right? Is it a disruptor or is it an opportunity? They bought a company called FarmWise in Salinas, which is an ag tech company. Guess what? They're not going to build it themselves. They bought FarmWise. That box. What's happening in the United States is I don't know. It's like Crazyville. So it's cuckoo. So what did they do next? They bought Nature's Way Foods in UK. So let's, right, extend out. So now you have these amazing moving mountains executives that say,
Right.
what about this? I was going crazy reading about Walmart. I know the Walmart executives and I've worked with them. The topic is AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so people are like, they're going to take my job. I don't want a robot in my house. People are going crazy about that. But the ability of AI, if used by one of these mountain moving executives, the ability to do things better, faster, cheaper, all the rest of it, use your time better. Walmart came out with, in their app, came out with a agentic AI, which is, it's your agent. So their shopping assistant on their app is Sparky. So Sparky, and I was like, Sparky, what is this? Sparky's a nice smiling, looks at prices, compares prices, decides what might be terrific for a birthday party. It is like literally an assistant.
Yeah.
Figured
Ushering
out
their
how
customer
to
down the path of
humanize
purchase.
it
Yeah.
so that the shopper isn't afraid. They just think, oh, look at this. Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. In a nice, friendly, easy to use. And back, there's a wizard in the curtains in back of Sparky, right? So Sparky is just whatever. But I thought, brilliant. C.H. Robinson. Okay, they brought in a CEO from outside our industry. Here's the thing. In family businesses, those people are most often rejected. Not one of us. Their ideas are most often rejected. We don't do things that way. So you end up with almost like a power dynamic. Take a look at the foundation. If that foundation that we talked about, all those must haves, if that is very well developed, if they are excellent at it, you put that person in charge. And it's an easy take. If you don't have people with that kind of executive talent, you have no choice but to leave the industry. You have no choice. Our industry is, I don't know, sort of clannish. So we most often like somebody that's like us. That is shifting now, evidenced by somebody like C.H. Robinson.
Yeah.
Their new CEO is a mechanical engineer, right? He's brilliant. He's worked in similar models. But what he said, which was, yes, I'm not going to just layer some AI compatibility onto our old model. We're going to redo the model. And that model was old. It was rusty.
Yeah.
That could not have come from inside the industry. They had to bring it from outside. And what has to happen is the board or the whoever has to say, this competency is walking in our door. It's a good person. They're brilliant and they've got this kind of experience. Let's go. So there's a lot of groundwork that has to happen before you just pop somebody in place. So do I think it's great? Yeah, if you don't have those attributes inside the business because you've been developing them all along, then I think it's wonderful. It only helps the company. So the company that has at the helm someone who absolutely can move mountains, came from a CEO, came from outside the business and said, why are we gluing AI capability onto the model that we have?
Yeah.
And said, new model. And it was rusty. And so suddenly you can, AI enabled, you can schedule a load, figure out where it goes. If it's a snowstorm, it takes you to a different spot. It does all of the routing and all the rest of it, including sending an invoice.
Wow.
So their stock, when they announced it, which was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, their stock doubled. So
Wow.
yeah, no, it just went through the ceiling. So then you say, okay, isn't that something? And the last sort of example that I have been like jaw dropping over their executives are two companies. One that is my current client, Wonderful Citrus specifically, and their seedless lemons.
Love them.
Oh,
I always have them in my kitchen. I've always been the person that always has lemons in my kitchen, but now I am exclusively and brand loyal to the wonderful seedless lemons.
if you take a look at that, that didn't just happen overnight.
Oh,
Those
of
are
course not.
brilliant, capable, futuristic executives that said, what do you do with those? Oh, what if it didn't have seeds? Would the chefs like it? Those varietal changes are like 10 years in the making.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't just snap, crackle, pop. Last year they did a lot of tests. This year it's Costco, it's
It's
Kroger.
everywhere. I
It's
buy them at
everywhere.
Walmart. Yeah.
Yes. That's an executive and an executive team that moves mountains.
I'd
So
say
can you
so.
see why when I went back to these sort of still you only better capabilities of development, can you see why if they're screwing around with some of this stuff, they're never going to get to that?
Yeah, you know what hit me was when you were like, if we're belaboring over, is the truck late? It's like,
No.
that's,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
those are the daily nuances
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
a big move mountain strategic thinker, the person who's going to have the vision for things like,
Yes.
let's remove these pesky seeds from lemons.
Yes.
They're not clouding their brain with those type of
They
just,
do not have headspace devoted to that.
no.
I look at the disruptors. I was in New York, was it, 2 weeks ago, at the Global Trade Symposium because I want to hear what my clients are global. So I want to, okay, what's happening?
Right.
And the disruptors, Lori, it took an hour to just be able to list the disruptors. And I thought, oh man, this year, biggest ever. Since the pandemic, biggest ever. And I was sitting next to someone, I said, what do you think about all that? And the person who you and I both know said, what do you think? I said, I think it's all noise. It's noise. Because if it doesn't affect you to the point where you can do something to affect it, it's just noise.
Right.
Put it there. So people are getting very wrapped up. By the way, these disruptors are true. It's not like some kindergarten class. If people are getting too wrapped up in them or too emotive about them or too wringing their hands about them or whatever, they can't move a mountain because they're caught up in all of that. So I have a client that said, I said, what do you think about this? And then he said, it's news and noise. I said, yeah, it's news and noise.
I'm going
And
to
there's
start using
plenty
that.
of it. Yeah.
News and noise.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
hits home. There's so many examples of that. And we've shared some really great examples of companies that obviously are moving mountains and they have great executives behind those stories. I'd love to get your take on current state within the industry and maybe stack it up and compare to the evolution of what's happened over the last couple of years.
There are winners and losers.
Yeah.
And I go back to two things. The first is, are your executives developed? If they came up through the earn as you learn system, there's a big space missing in their capability. It's a big space. We are in love with the youth and the emerging and all that stuff, but there's this big gap. So what do I see? I see a huge gap that CEOs, owners don't know what to do with. And sometimes they are the gap. So they are so comfortable and love what they're doing so much that they can't let in fresh air. I don't know how else to say it. They can't let in
True.
fresh air. They don't keep up themselves. Now, this is the extreme. They treat the business like it's a hobby. They got a bunch of money. They don't need to work for money anymore. So they come in a couple days, hey, what's going on? And out they go. Or they helicopter, which is worse. Sort of,
Like the micromanaging.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Yeah.
mess around with stuff. The only role that they know is that they're the hero of the business. And what they end up being is the biggest bottleneck.
Yeah.
You can only progress up to the level and expertise of the top person. You cannot go any farther. So if I look at the sort of the trajectory of produce businesses, I would say broccoli is broccoli. Shoot me, but broccoli is broccoli. I can do this, that, and the other thing with it. I love broccoli very much. But you start looking at people sitting in their comfort zones because they've been on the earn as you learn. Some of the practices that I've seen is, oh, who taught you that? Oh, my grandpa. Oh, great. Oh, great. Right? I mean, it's terrifying to me. I see an enormous amount of rolling up, right? Supply chains like Fresh Edge is rolling up the wholesale distributors. And there's examples of people that just said, I'm out. I can't do it anymore. Why can't they do it anymore? Because they have not learned over time to have the willingness and the acceptance of new ways of doing things. AI is going to fry some people, fry them.
Yeah. No, for sure. Produce moms as an industry, we certainly, media is a great way to describe the industry that we would most tightly identify with. But gosh, it's really disrupted media and online publishing. Everyone can recognize that just from their user experience. When you Google something, you see the AI generative search, and as opposed to landing on all these different articles.
Well, for marketing, right? What was the old framework? Oh, look at how they do things. Ooh, oh, that's cool. Oh, what's happening here? Where if you literally, just as an individual, ask GPT to investigate the best, there it is. If you want a business plan, if you want a financial spreadsheet, go on and on.
Right.
Those things are just readily there.
Sure.
People are afraid, but what it challenges you to do is to say, okay, if this basic stuff that I've been struggling with and spending days and hours, if that's already done for me, A, I got a mind, I've got to take a look at this to see whether or not it even makes sense. B, now what can I do? Now let me move a mountain. Because if I don't have to spend 3 days doing an Excel spreadsheet, oh, wow. So it's going to begin to separate levels of excellence. Mm-hmm. I don't know how else to say that, but it's going to do that.
How does that make what you're passionate about even more important?
Okay, so
your business model, essentially, developing this executive development.
Yes. And I looked at everything and said, oh, I can be of service. I have this broad range of expertise. People just don't have it. I think, what do I do with it? I give it to someone. Okay. I charge them it's my business, but I can use it for people. What will it do to my business model? I say it makes someone like me more valuable because there's so many consultants, I hate to say it like that are earn as you learn consultants, or that are working on Johnny can't play nice with people. I couldn't do that work with a full spirit. So it's a service part of it. But I'll tell you something else that we should probably talk to people about. I work with a lot of boards. Yeah. And do you know what their number one question is? They get the financials. We understand where the business is headed. We understand all that. What their number one question is to the people, to the CEO? Who's your successor?
Oh, gosh, I bet. Yeah.
And what are you doing to get that person developed?
Ready. Yeah, I bet.
They don't want to know what's the next place to grow avocados. Who's your successor? And are they ready? Because people retire or they die. I've had clients that, God forbid, they've died. You know, it's like
sure. Life happens. Like, you never know.
I'm a research geek, so I want to give you this because I want people to understand this whole importance of succession. By the way, if we don't get this wired in our industry, it's bad news. People will have no choice but to sell their business for whatever somebody's going to pay for it. So I researched this because I thought, why am I keep asking about this? Okay, listen to this. 70% of small businesses fail to succeedly transition. 70%. 2/3 of family businesses lack a plan. Less than 25% of private companies have no formal plan. And the last one, when they poll executives, 75% worry they won't survive if an owner suddenly exits. For me, I found that shocking. So now I think, oh my God, all this work, all this effort, all this money, all these late hours, all these around the clock, you know what? It could go down the drain. These are legacy businesses. You're a steward. You don't own this damn thing. You're a steward for your home, for your business, for your kids. Come on, carefully, move it along. So that for me is the biggest nightmare. That's why boards are asking the question, who's going to take your place? And I think, oh my God, who's going to take your place? Awful. And the CEO, I will tell you, if they're too enamored of the industry, and their whole reason for being as a human is that they move into, I'm almost going to say, psychological distress. That's why you see so many people that won't leave that chair or give a piece of that to someone else. That's the joy of it. I had clients that are sitting on the tomato desk and they're CEOs. It's like, you're ordering tomatoes. So can't this smart person be taught to order tomatoes? Oh no, it's really complicated. Oh, okay.
That happens a lot in produce. Way too much.
Way too much.
That's that bottleneck you were describing.
That's the bottleneck, and they can't find a meaningful next act. That's part of when I work with CEOs, it's like, okay, we got to get you a job that's better than this one.
Sure.
What could it be? You can golf just so much. And the little tiny grandchildren will grow up. I mean, right? It's like there's something for you. There's a documentary that people ought to watch. It's a corker. Remember Michael Phelps, the swimmer?
Of course, yeah.
28 gold medals.
Right.
That dance ends. And he created document that was called After the Gold.
Oh, okay.
And it is about these athletes that have been training for this thing since they're 3. Right. Gold, 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 gold. And then they go home. And the addictions, the psychological problems, not ready psychologically for this big shift because nothing better is happening. I see that with our CEOs. That's why you have an 85-year-old CEO that won't leave his desk or her desk. Very few are looking toward that next thing. So I can help them with that. Let's figure out your next business or your next whatever.
So I've got a question. There's thinking of the adage, which I really believe, leadership begins at the top.
Yes.
But then also being realistic and recognizing all the things we've discussed today. How will my frustration, will I be less frustrated if I lower my standard for leadership? Because I feel like I'm someone who has a very high expectation of leadership. I've committed to a high level of leadership. You've helped me develop that, Julie. But I find myself continually disappointed in leadership.
Of yourself or others? Or
both?
Yeah. Okay. So here's the question you should ask yourself. What is my deepest reason for doing this business and this work? You do it well. If you were a stinker, I'd probably figure out a way to...
You would tell me straight up. That's why I love you. Julie will tell you straight up. At one point, Julie, you know the most straight up thing you ever said to me. We were talking pretty granular about TPM.
Yeah.
And you looked at me in the eye and you said, you bought yourself a job. This isn't a business. And I was like, oh, shit. And I remember that, though. And it's helped me. That helped me develop hearing it. But that's the kind of woman Julie is. She's straight up.
That's my Czechoslovakian background.
Yeah.
They are straight up. This is an odd sort of input, but I would say learn your absolute musts from your, that'd be nice. That'd be okay.
True. So true.
I had a mentor when I was in the energy industry say to me, everything didn't have to be perfect. I said, what do you mean? I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. What do you mean it doesn't have to be perfect? He said, Julie, learn to ask yourself if it's good enough. I said, what the hell advice is that? Is everything good enough? He said, because most things are good enough, but however you're wired makes you want to reach for perfection, and you will make the people that work for you crazy. And I thought,
So true.
well, how smart was that? Yeah. So that's something in terms of standards. Is it good enough, right? If it's not, your job is to mentor and help and develop, right? And your deepest, Lori, you're one of the greats. You're on my list. You're one of the greats.
Thank
So
you.
why blow that worrying about, I don't know, something that's right, that's good
Yeah.
enough, or why take emotional angst over it? You are continuing to build bigger and bigger and bigger. Man, enjoy that ride. Sometimes the ride goes like this, sometimes it goes like this. It doesn't really, oh, okay. But I'm telling you, enjoy that because you are one of the greats that are moving mountains.
Oh,
There's
thank
nobody
you.
like you. I'm telling you, there's nobody like you. There's nobody in this space. Okay. There's nobody that has that had that ambition, that story, that reach. Maybe over Happy New Year, tell yourself, good for me. Yay, Lori. Because you've done so much. So then the conversation is, it's not the what next in terms of I want this client or I want that brand or I want this or that. It's what's next. There's a globe out there and you have the capabilities of being magnificent in that globe. That's what you ought to think about over the holidays. What really is that? But it's there. Look at these examples that I gave you. That came
Yeah.
out of people's heads.
Right.
They just said, oh, here's a rule book on seedless lemons. I mean, they come out of people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask you to relax all the angst, just
Right.
relax it, make it noise, and then say, wow, you've got years to work still. Wow, what
Mm-hmm.
could it be?
Yeah. I
The
love it.
big moves.
I love it. That's probably gonna be my final takeaway, Julie, from all
Yeah.
this. What do you want everyone who's listening today? Like what's the one thing you really want people to remember when they think about this episode? And we've been talking now for probably close to an hour.
Yeah. I want them to spend time inwardly
Yeah.
where there's so much the truck, the guy, the this, the tomatoes. Okay, that's an external environment.
Yeah.
And somebody else can do that for you if you're at that level that I talked about. They may not do it the way you want it. Oh, okay. But the outcome may be just fine. So I'd ask people to reflect on their true purpose in their business, their ambition. Not just like, I want to be a millionaire, but their ambition for contributing to this magnificent industry. What's your true ambition, right? And if there's nothing left for them, except to sit on the tomato desk or whatever the hell, if there's nothing left for them, I want them to think about what's next for me and how do I make a dignified and orderly transition so I leave all of this better.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just time to go.
Right.
Yeah, you may not want to, but sometimes that's the best course of action. Holidays are chaotic and crazy, and we're having a bunch of fun. But there are some quiet times. My first 2 years as a closing of the pandemic, I did nothing but hike in the mountains. You know, they're right there. I'm looking
Yeah.
at them. I mean, 10-mile hikes at 10,000 feet day after day. And all I did was contemplate and reflect. Julie, why are you here? What are you doing? How can you be of deeper service to people? It's not about me. Here I am. I'm just fine or not fine. It's not about that. How
Right.
can you be of deeper service? And I thought about that constantly for 2 years.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Julie, this has been a great episode. We'll have to have you on again as our season progresses. I don't feel like we talked for an hour. I feel like the time flew by. So that's
Yeah.
usually the step one of knowing this is going to be a great episode. Once we get it fully produced, our audience is going to
Yeah.
love it. But I want to remind everyone that you can follow along with Julie's work, obviously connect with her on LinkedIn, but krivanekconsulting.com is her website. And I have found Julie, despite the powerhouse that she is and this larger than life personality, this no bullshit approach to leadership, I have found Julie to be very approachable and very real. And I encourage anyone out there who is very inspired by today's episode, don't hesitate in reaching out to her. With that, Julie, you get the mic for your closing remarks and signing us off from the show.
I would say to people, be quiet, be alone, and think of what that means for 2026. People all know their next step. They always know it. Sometimes they're afraid to take it. Take the next step and think about how you can move mountains in your organizations.
So good. The fairy godmother of produce has spoken. That's been a great episode, Julie.
Oh, that's sweet. All right.
That's a wrap.